right off the bat, I will say, out of the 7 episodes that have come out thus far, this is easily my least favorite. Not to say that the episode is bad. It's not bad, okay? It's just relatively speaking, right? All of these episodes have been amazing, right? So to choose which of them is weakest is like choosing, it would be like someone asking you to choose amongst, if you have kids, a bunch of kids, let's say 7 kids, and they're all amazing. Like one of them's a lawyer, one of them's a doctor, one of them is like a Nobel Peace Prize winner, right? And you're telling them which one of them is your favorite, right? So you'll pick one, but they're all great regardless. So let's get into why I felt it was the weakest, and it didn't. There were, I feel like, I will say a lot of the things that kind of turned me off about it. It is mainly my own fault. I had certain expectations, I guess, with this episode. This is actually the first episode that I had expectations as far as what I thought was going to happen. And I mean, for the most part, I mean, up until this point, I've pretty much just been going along with the story, what's happening, because not having a clue as to what they're going to show us. Now getting to this point where we're at the final like 3 episodes, I was kind of formulating a game plan as to what was going to go down in these last couple of episodes. So it's not necessarily that the show did anything wrong, just that it didn't, I set up certain expectations that the show didn't live to. This is the first time that I saw the episode as soon as it dropped, right, at 3 a.m. And it was the most I was hyped for. I guess like it was too much, right? I got too excited, and I put the bar too high, I guess, and it ultimately couldn't reach that. It's not an issue with the show, it's more an issue with myself. I actually rewatched the episode afterwards, after seeing some other reviews, other people's opinions on it, and kind of having those expectations now removed, right, taken out of the picture, and I was able to enjoy the episode a lot more. Granted, there still were like certain things that I didn't like about it, but I was able to enjoy it more. I'm gonna start off with the thing that I feel that was the most offensive, right? That offended me the most, and it was the issue with the aerospace engineer. They've been teasing this hard ever since it was mentioned 2 episodes ago, right? You have Monica mentioning him, and then you get like the little zoom in on the camera of her on her phone texting him, and it's, that right there, that just, it sparked the mystery right from the get-go. Like, who is this guy? Like, who's it gonna be? Last episode, they basically left that on a cliffhanger, right? With the very last thing that we saw Jimmy and Monica doing was heading off to meet with the supposed aerospace engineer, with Monica saying, word for word in the last episode, Monica says, I just need to meet my guy over the ridge. You can't tell me it was not so disappointing, the fact that when Monica and Jimmy are getting to the place, and instead of seeing, the one person that she was referring to all this time, we see a military, military personnel, and she gets introduced, or she walks up, and the first person she talks to is a Major Goodman. Bro, debated. We got debated so hard on that. It's not even funny. And I can't even find a reason why did they do it like that? I mean, I guess my only guess is that they're leaving this, that whoever this aerospace engineer, it's got to be a really big deal, and that they're leaving it for like the very last thing that they're gonna show us. At this point, if they didn't show us who it was this episode, I'm thinking it's not gonna happen until the last episode, and I'm thinking that it might not even happen until the last episode, till like the very last moment, maybe even like a post-credit scene, maybe. But it just, man, that was like the main thing that just like really got me like, I don't like this. Nope, didn't like it. So that was the main thing that I feel that I didn't like on my first watch of seeing the episode, and upon watching it the second time, it's like the main core thing that stays hitting strong as to why it didn't add up for me. The second thing that I wasn't too thrilled about, but I kind of got more lenient with it upon seeing other people's reviews and watching it the second time was Agatha, the reveal of Agatha. It's hard to explain why I didn't even like it. It was just, it's really hard to explain, actually. I can't even really put it together. I've been thinking about it a lot ever since I saw the episode and then seeing other people's opinions. Because if you think about it, I should be pumped about this, right? I mean, I called it, right? And even after last episode's attempted fake out to get us off the trail of those thinking that Agatha was behind everything, I stood strong. I said that I still had belief that it was Agatha. So I don't know what it was. I'm thinking maybe, I feel like it was just like, I'm feeling that they didn't let that fake out rest for long enough, because they did, okay, they made the fake out, which is great, right? I feel like it did what it did, what it needed to do, or what they wanted it to do, as far as getting people to like stop thinking that it was Agnes behind everything. But then you throw Agnes right like at the top of the episode, near the beginning, coming in to the house, and like immediately like she's thrown back into our minds just by the sole act of seeing her, introducing her into our minds again, is automatically going to raise suspicions and red flags again. As soon as I saw her, I'm like, oh, okay, wait a minute, maybe it's not over. And then they doubled down on it even more with the things that she was doing in the episode, right? She got the kids, she took them over to her place. Billy makes a comment about her being empty inside, right? Which at the moment I wasn't really able to piece together. It was only after watching other people's reviews that I came to understand that what he meant by that was that he was hearing, when he said that he was constantly hearing voices, he was hearing the voices of the residents of Westview, right? The ones that were under the control of the Hex, right? Trying to get out. People like Norm, right? Who we saw that were desperate and to go on with their lives and reach out to their family and friends and whatnot. That wasn't the case with Agatha, and I didn't realize that upon my first watching it. But even without realizing it, just the comment alone, it's bringing more attention to Agatha, right? So even without understanding it, Billy making that comment about her made me think, okay, something's with her. Something's definitely with her. So they just keep leaning on it, right? And at this point, you're pretty much like, I was pretty much, set thinking, okay, it's her. Like, it's her. So I think we weren't even like halfway through the episode and I was already convinced that it was her, right? I feel I would have enjoyed it more if they would have let that doubt that they had set up in the last episode kind of sit there for a little bit longer, right? If they had left it like just just like stirring the pot, right? Let it simmer for a bit, right? Let us keep wondering, keep the mystery alive for a bit longer as to who is actually behind everything. If they had not shown her in this episode at all until the very last scene and she comes out and she makes the reveal, I feel like it would have been, I would have enjoyed it a lot more. It is a very, I will say this is very personal, because out of the reviews that I've seen, nobody has had issue with the reveal. So I will admit this is very nitpicky, right? But I recognize that, and I'm just here to give my opinion. And who knows, maybe there are other people out there that share that same opinion, but it's just the way I see it. And of course, I do understand that if Agatha was not in this episode at all, it would have had to have been a very different episode. But I mean, I think that just all comes down to like writing and like handling the situation, handling things differently. I myself don't have an answer. I didn't think about it that profoundly. I didn't go that deep into it to kind of like work up like an entire alternate script that would have worked out for the episode. I'm just saying that if they had done it like that, I feel like it would have been more impactful for me personally. That's all. Other than that, other than letting like the mystery simmer a bit more as to who was actually behind it, the other thing that threw me off was kind of like the switch in tones towards the end of the episode. And I will say this falls in line with what I was expecting for this episode, right? I was expecting, if you go back to my last video, I put the card up there so you can watch. My prediction was that this episode was going to be the Modern Family styled episode, which it was. and that by the end of the episode, it was just going to think everything was going to pop off, and leaving the last 2 episodes to kind of resolve everything that was the aftermath of everything going on with Wanda, with the Hex, Vision, everything. So as soon as they showed Wanda going down those stairs to the basement, and you start seeing like the vines and the things on the wall, and it starts turning into a creepy dungeon, and you see all these weird things, I got so hype. I was loving it. I was loving it so much. It was so good. I'm like, this is it. They're finally going all in on the scary. This is it. This is the moment. Let's go. Only to be thrown off by Agatha walking in. Agnes walking in, saying, "You're not the only one who can use magic." I don't even know what that was. All I'm saying is that the reveal was, man, it's not, and I'm gonna be using this word probably a lot throughout this review, but it just felt heavy-handed, right? She reveals herself, and then it's followed up by this like montage of moments throughout the episodes that we've seen throughout the series thus far, where we see that Agatha has played a part in, in the events that we've seen. And we get the theme song, and it just kills the mood, man. It just kills it completely. Like, I was ready. Like, I was all in. I was so pumped for it to get into the scary stuff, to get scary weird, and then it just jumps back into like the sitcom-y like silliness, and it just, that tone shift right there, it just really like caught me off guard. Like at the end of the episode, I was kind of dumbstruck. I didn't even know how to feel. I was like, but I know I didn't like it. And like I said already, I should have liked it because I called it. This was like my prediction coming true, but it just happened in a way in which I didn't expect it, and I didn't see it coming, and it just caught me off guard, and I wish it would have been done differently. Also, when they started showing like the moments throughout the show where Agatha, quote unquote, had, her magic play a part of it, it kind of threw me off also, because it was like, okay, like these moments that they were showing weren't, like, I was kind of questioning the significance of the moments that they were showing. The first one is the one that probably has the most like what, like, okay, and it's during the episode 2, during the talent show sequence, and they got her rabbit coming out of the hat, and she was the one supposedly who did that, but that wasn't even like one of the main like events of that episode, right? That was just like a very like minor detail, and it had literally no effect on anything. The other scenes that they showed definitely had more of effect. They show her having a control of Pietro, showing up at that moment when he did back in episode 5, I believe. And then the other ones, her taking control of Herb, while Wanda was having the kids. And then of course what happened last episode where she kind of faked the whole kind of breakdown when Vision did snapped her out of the Hex, which I called, by the way. That was a little bit more ambiguous, so I've actually had a thought about those 2 moments, and those 2 moments in particular are probably the most related, in the sense that they both serve the purpose of the interacting directly with Vision. So I do feel that Agnes does have a motive to keep Vision apart from Wanda. In this episode, we see that Vision meets up with Darcy, and they're trying to get back to Wanda, and they encounter these impediments that are blocking their way. And I feel like that is Agatha. Vision makes a comment that he thinks that it's Wanda, his wife, trying to keep him away from her. But I think it's Agatha. I think Agatha does have an agenda here to throughout everything that we've seen from Agatha. Her agenda is definitely for her to get the kids, right, which she's got now, and for Vision to be taken out of the picture. So those two shots where Agatha is doing that, I was kind of, I was questioning the significance of those moments. I've now kind of thought about it a bit more and came to the realization that they do directly lead to getting Vision out of the picture. But the only one left that just makes no sense whatsoever, and it lingers in my mind so much because it's the very first thing that they show, is her making the rabbit come out of the hat during the talent show, and it has no significance whatsoever. And I don't know, unless, and I did see a comment saying this, that we've never actually seen Pietro and Senor Scratchums, I think is his name, the rabbit's name. We've never actually seen those two in the same location. So what if Pietro, right, is actually, maybe like Agatha does like some kind of shape-shifting magic or transformation magic of some sort, and she's been getting the rabbit to play the role of Pietro this time. It's so stupid. It still wouldn't have it. It still wouldn't make any significance for that exact moment. It bothers me. Again, I know it's freaking nitpicky. It's a little small minor detail, but it bothers me. I feel maybe I would have enjoyed it a bit more if it wasn't like, "'Tis I, Agatha. Roll montage of everything that I've done up to this point." It was, I just felt very on the nose. I really feel like maybe if unless we had stayed with the scary tone, we didn't get that montage. If they had left, I feel like if they had left the montage for the next episode, because obviously we're gonna get like, there's still a lot of questions to be had as far as like, when did Agatha, like, is Agatha actually the cause of all this? Did she like set everything up, or was it already in place and she came in to take advantage of the situation? Was it Wanda who created it? There's still a lot of questions at hand here, and it's obvious that in the next episode we're gonna get that breakdown as far as like what exactly is going on, what are Agatha's goals, although I'm pretty sure I have a clear picture on that, but I guess for the more common viewer, what is Agatha's purpose, and there may even be a surprise in that as well. But I really feel like it would have been much better served if they had stuck with the scary tone that they were going with at the end of the episode. They had left the montage for the next episode for us to show us like all the points where she had her hand to play in the series thus far. And even the name, I feel like the name reveal could have been left for the next episode, but I guess not. I think it was the montage was the main thing. I think if we had pushed that to the next episode, it would have made it a lot less jarring for me, at least. But who am I? I'm just a random guy making a video in South America talking about this show, so who cares? That's it. That's all that I'm gonna say about Agatha. I do think that she's not like the only one behind it. I do feel like there's like something else pulling the strings, and whether we're gonna get a reveal to that in the next episode or not until the very like end of the series, and maybe that comes through in an after credits scene as well, we'll have to wait and see. One of the main reviews that I watch are from Fandom Entertainment YouTube channel. I love their content. They do great stuff. Go check them out. If I can, I'll put their channel up on the card. One of the things that they mentioned and that I agree with wholeheartedly is the fact that if they were just to introduce some random villain out of nowhere, like a Mephisto or a Mordo or whoever people are speculating, if they were just to throw them in to the like very like last moment, like now being the last 2 episodes of WandaVision, and expect any kind of like emotional reaction from the audience, it's gonna be hard. I don't think it's impossible, but it's gonna be hard. It would be very difficult to have just like this random guy pop out of nowhere and be like, haha, it's me, I've been behind it all along. Ultimately it'll come down to like how they break down the reasoning as far as like what Agatha's purpose is, goal is, and we'll see. I'm it's almost dead certain that it's not her alone. As far as when that other person will be revealed, it's left to see. It's funny because them over there at Fandom, they've also been mentioning the fact that Ralph, right, Agnes's sitcom husband that is always off screen, and he's only mentioned by her, but we never actually see him. They've toyed around with the idea that maybe it's him. He's the one that's gonna be like, he's the one behind everything. He's the big baddie, and he's gonna be like revealed at the very end to be the one pulling the strings. I would actually like to see that come true. I would actually like to see that be the case. It would be, I feel like it would be funny, and I feel like it would be something that people are not expecting, right? I mean, she's made mentions of him throughout the episodes, and it hasn't been on every episode either. It would be fun. I feel like it would be a fun idea. We'll see. All right, back on my nitpickiness. The last thing that I wasn't too fond of, that it kind of caught me off guard going into this episode, and again, I will admit it's mainly based on the expectations that I had for this episode, and my expectations were that this episode was going to be modeled strongly off of the kind of Modern Family style sitcom. And upon my first viewing of it, I feel like it wasn't there. Like, I couldn't make that connection. The only moments that I feel were like kind of like getting near that were the moments with Vision and Darcy. I love them two together. They were great. Paul Bettany especially has done great throughout the entire series. In this episode, I really felt like he was one of the stronger aspects. But when it came to Wanda alone at home, and her having those direct to the camera conversations, it felt very heavy-handed, man. It felt like I just couldn't get on board with it. I felt like it was like out of her comfort zone for like the top-notch job that they've been doing, just nailing and straight up nailing like the sitcom, the references to the sitcom of the eras of the decades, all the ways from the 50s up to the 2000s, now the aughts. And they've been just nailing it each and every time, and I feel like this is the first one where I couldn't get on board with it so much. I feel like there was like something lacking there. I tried thinking about it to like, what is it exactly? Why is it that like I feel such a disconnect? And I feel the reason being is that maybe one of the main reasons is that with the prior decades, there are a lot of aspects outside of just the sitcom, the show being recorded, right? That make references to the time era, right? We're talking about clothing. We're talking about technology, the objects, the landscaping, even the way the house looks, the way the neighborhood looks. Each era that we've visited has a very distinct feel that they've been able to portray through these different mediums. The problem with this episode being the most recent era of sitcoms, right, the one closest to our actual current time, right, our present day, is the fact that there's not as much to distinguish it, right? I mean, as far as like clothing wise, style wise, we see, I mean, obviously it's a more casual, it's laid back, which does speak to our times, right? But since now you can't rely on that. You can't rely on the wardrobe to kind of tell a story. You can't rely on the objects, on the set, the way the set is displayed in our backgrounds and surroundings. I had to think about what is it that makes the sitcoms of this era, right, of the aughts and on up to today's age. What is it that sets them apart from the sitcoms of prior, right, of the 90s, of the 80s, 50s, 60s? And the answer to that is the camera. It's the camera play, the angles, the pans, the zoom ins, right? These are the things that make this is what really makes today's sitcoms what they are, distinctive from the rest. And I don't think they were able to pull it off. I really don't. It felt like they just stuck to doing their own thing, which I feel like they've been doing since the second episode. Actually, I feel like the first episode was the only episode where they actually like very, and I'm talking like cinematography at this point, like in regards to like camera angles, I feel like the first episode, they stuck to that classic like sitcoms. They're leaving the camera in one place in each room, and you can see how that's done, right? From the second episode on, they kind of they've toyed around with it, but they didn't dedicate it to it 100%, right? They started more and more doing their own things, and I feel like that has rolled over to this to today's episode. But I feel like today's episode, in order to properly get that homage to the sitcom of this era, it really depends heavily on the camera, on how how the shots are taken. And this is why I like the Vision and Darcy scenes so much, actually, because out of everything, out of the entire episode, I feel like the most relatable moment to like the modern families, the offices of this era, the shows of this era, is when they were taking robbing the funnel cake truck, and the camera is like far away. It's actually like behind some objects even, so it kind of seems like it's the camera crew, right, was taken off guard, and they're like the camera's like moving a bit, and they're trying to like capture like the action going on through these other objects. And I feel like that right there, that was like, that's what it's about. So upon my first viewing, I was only thinking about Modern Family. Upon watching other people's reviews, I've come to the realization that it wasn't supposed to be an influence just from Modern Family. There were actually a couple other things thrown in there, like little sprinkles of The Office, and then other shows that I actually hadn't even heard of were thrown in there. Again, it was from Fandom's review that I found out that the opening sequence, like the title sequence for WandaVision, was actually an homage to a sitcom. I forgot the name of it. Hold up. Happy Endings. It was it was taken off. It was ripping off a show of Happy Endings, a show that I had never heard of. So by watching these other reviews and kind of getting the understanding that it wasn't, supposed to be just Modern Family, but maybe just like a bunch of different shows mixed together. Upon watching the episode a second time, I was a lot more lenient as far as like what they were doing, like with the shots. But I still say that it was just off. It was just, out of all the homages that they've done, this one was just like the most disconnected out of all of them, right? And it's not to say that it was bad either. It's still great. It's still a good episode. It's still good TV. It's just, compared to the other ones were, man, and this one was just, that's what it comes down to. I hadn't caught it upon the first watch, but they had like Vision had the kind of like Jim look into the camera like, are you serious moment, and I didn't feel it either. I feel like it didn't pull it off for me. Again, the camera just lingered for a bit too long, and we didn't get that like zoom in. Like you need, like when Jim does those moments, it's always like the camera like is always zoomed in, right? And it's just, it was just, no, didn't work for me. All right, so now that I've ranted about all the things that I didn't like about the episode, let's talk about something that I actually did like. And what I loved was the origin story. We got everything, having to do with Monica was great. I loved it, man. Again, the aerospace engineer, that was a letdown. But again, I mean, that's not really her fault, really. Everything like regarding her and her story, as far as like her getting powers, and going through the hex for a third time now, going through that threshold, and you see like her powers being born, and like you see the moment she becomes Spectrum, probably, most likely. Yeah, I guess we'll see. And then the face off, the encounter between Wanda and her, and like Wanda's got her, and like Wanda is so sure of herself that she's gonna be able to just like manhandle her, or woman handle her, I guess, and just do what she wants, and throw her willy-nilly. And then once she lets go, Monica falls, and you got the superhero landing, and you got the aura, and you got the eyes light up, and it's like, yes, let's go. I loved it. It was so cool. It's good. I'm loving it. I'm loving that she's gonna be part of the MCU. It's more than likely. We already know that she's going to be in the Doctor Strange movie. I feel like they got to do something with her in regards to Captain Marvel, with her actually in the comics having taken up that mantle. at some point, but not. But I mean, of course, there's that also just natural, inherent connection with Carol Danvers, with the fact, with what happened in the first Captain Marvel. And whenever they mention Captain Marvel in this series, which they've done a couple of times, the camera always goes to Monica, and you always see she has like a bit of like discomfort, a bit of like distaste, like let's not talk about her. Like there's something there. There's something that they're setting up that needs to be explored, and it's cool. It's really cool to have her introduced into the MCU this way. The only bad news that derives from this is with the transformation of Monica. I think I have to put a nail in the coffin for the theory that I had in regards to everyone coming through the barrier of the Hex getting superpowers, and this maybe leading to the birth of mutants. I think that is a dead theory now. And the reason I say that is because I feel like that moment from the last episode where Darcy, where they took the time for Darcy to show Monica's cellular structure and the things that are going on with her, and the fact that she very poignantly says, look what's happened to you after crossing through the threshold 2 times. I feel like there was a lot of significance on the 2, meaning that the only reason that Monica's gotten up to this point, and now actually gotten up to the point where she's gotten powers now, is because she's gone through that threshold so many times, as many times as she's had. And so far the only other characters that have crossed the threshold, assuming that the Hex was created around everybody that's inside Westview, the only other characters that have gone through the threshold have been the Sword Agents and Darcy that were swallowed up when the Hex was expanded, but that's only one crossing, right? So I really think they showed that scene in the last episode to give kind of the backing reasoning as to why Monica is going to have powers and why everyone else that crossed through the threshold is not, for the reason being that they didn't make that trip as many times. I think that's what it's gonna come down to, and it's kind of disappointing. But I mean, regardless, we know mutants are coming either way. We'll just have to wait and see exactly how it happens. But I think that is a dead theory right there. But it's not so bad. We got one. I mean, that's one theory thrown out the window. But we got the Agnes being behind everything. One correct, even after they tried to throw us off last week. So we're 1-1. We're good. We're on good standing. The only last little thread of mystery from the last episode is regarding Hayward as to what his actual intentions are by keeping track of Vision while inside the Hex, and also that secret Project Cataract, what that's all about. We actually got a little bit more to that, saying that he was keeping tabs of him. It seems that they wanted to use Vision. They were trying, the reason they had him in the first place was to kind of bring him back, I guess, to be able to use him, maybe make him some kind of protector that they would actually have control over. Because I mean, if we think back all the way to Civil War, I mean, what's been the main issue as far as humans, the regular people, in regards to the super powered individuals, is the fact that they have no control over them. So it seems like they were trying to have some leverage in that regards, and finally have some kind of super powered being individual that they would actually be able to control completely. I'm good with that. It makes perfect sense. Yeah, I mean, like I said last week, there wasn't too much really to go off of to speculate as to what Hayward was about or what that whole situation was regarding. So yeah, if it's just that, that's good. That lines up with everything. Makes sense. And that's that, my people. That is WandaVision episode 7. 2 episodes left. And I'm pretty sure, we're done with the sitcom homages. We're caught up to date. It's pretty much from this point on, everything is just going down. From the clips that we've seen from trailers and promos, We know that Vision and Wanda are reunited. They have this kind of conversation, and they said, even Vision says, let's protect our home, and it seems like they're going off, and they go into like this kind of like fight mode, I guess. And then on top of that, we also have like the shots where Wanda's like trapped inside of this room, and then the stuff with the mind gems. So I think maybe we won't see that until the final episode. But it's exciting. 2 episodes left. Let's see how it all goes down. So once again, thank you so much for watching. Leave your comments. Let me know what you think, what your theories are, what you thought of anything that I had to say. I know probably a lot of people are disagree in regards to how much they actually enjoyed the episode. So yeah, if let me know, please. That's it for me. Once again, I'm your single player hero, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.